everybody. Welcome back to Latched Mama Podcast. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Latched Mama Podcast is a podcast for the mothers in the trenches of motherhood. Today we are going to talk about friendships with our kids. Not our friendships with our kids, but helping our kids navigate friendships with other little ones. You're listening to Latched Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, busy mom of 6 and owner of LatchedMama.com. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, and all things motherhood. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we're not talking about like friendships with us because
Yeah.
I was not doing well with that yesterday. So just with like the parenting, like with the kids and stuff.
Like the parenting.
Yeah. Like the 15-year-old.
Oh, the friendships, like where the line is.
I'm not their
between
friend,
being
but
a mom and a friend and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm glad it's between them.
I
today.
hear you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Apparently we're not supposed to be their friends long term. I don't know. I haven't gotten to the whole like how do you raise a big kid books yet. I probably won't read them. I'll probably just feel my way through it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's 6 of them. One of them will end up being my friend, probably. One of them will
might
probably
be in jail. I might have one in jail. I don't know. I wanted to give up yesterday, but yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
so let's talk about helping these little ones navigate friendships because it is one of the more heartwarming and heartbreaking parts of motherhood. I feel like that first time you see your kid get hurt on the playground, like emotionally, or like not invited to a birthday party, or just kind of like mean kidded a bit. Oof. There's nothing that makes my mama bear come out more than that.
Yeah.
But you have to let them navigate it and you have to let them learn, I guess.
Yeah. And you know, one thing that I was thinking about, and this was also with yesterday's stuff that was going on at our house, is if we take it back to how hard it is to make friends as a mom and like how you start second guessing yourself and am I worthy of that? So then I'm sitting here going like, how hard is it for me to make friends right now? And I'm trying to help my kids make friends. Yeah. So like, I feel like really I'm in the boat. Like, can I sit in front of somebody and get this lecture and, you know, somebody help teach me this? But it's really, really difficult.
Yeah. We're working on something for this other project that I'm doing. And we were talking about how like literally like motherhood is a second adolescence. So there are many times where like we're experiencing things for like the first time as mothers with a different set of eyes while we're also walking our kids through very similar things. And you know, I think at the younger age, as the kids start to develop their own friendships, and I'm not talking about like forced play dates or anything like that, but like when they truly start to create the, hey, can you come to my birthday party?
Somebody,
yeah, like they get to kind of know each other. Kind of what is our role in that, and how can we help facilitate that, and how can we teach them to show up, but also set boundaries. And it's a really, really hard thing to navigate.
Yeah.
Because all of my kids are different. Like Nathan, who's my oldest, he's very, very social. So he is like this natural leader when he's around other kids. Alex kind of falls a little bit in his coattails, but is extremely different. So he's going to be friends with different people than Nathan's going to be friends with. Yeah. And it's like, how does it all work out?
We often have the conversation of, hey, keep learning about yourself, learning to just be a better human, if you will, not even just a better friend yet, but just a better person, and learn about everybody. Treat everybody as if they could be a potential friend. You know, we don't have to single somebody out and are they my true friend? Well, I have these friends. I don't want any more friends, you know, just.
It's so hard.
It's so hard because as I start to see them get into middle school and high school, middle school was the hardest. And I'm seeing it now with Gabe he'll constantly kind of say, well, Lennox has this group of friends. And I constantly have to remind him, I'm like, dude, when Lennox would come home in 6th grade from school and I would ask him questions about his day and how was lunch and did he sit with anybody? And he's like, well, I sat with my one friend. And it was just his one friend from his lunch class. So, and then one day he came home and he's like, well, I sat with this other kid. He's like, but I don't know if he's my friend yet. And it was literally like that. Like he didn't have a group. He hardly had anybody. And I think it's such this awkward stage, this elementary into middle to where what is a friend? What is a friend? Do I know how to be a friend? Do I actually have like a real friend? Or do I just know people and I'm friendly and I'm learning about them and learning how to have a conversation and things like that? So I have to constantly remind him that, hey, Lennox went through the same thing.
And it's so interesting because it comes more naturally, I feel like, some of those friendship behaviors with some of my kids than it does with others. And I'm sure other moms see the same thing. Like, Nathan will lead his group of friends, but will he check on them later? Or will he stay in touch with them in a way that fosters connection? Absolutely not. Alex, on the other hand, will go to the store and say, hey, my friend's favorite candy is this. It's on sale. Can I get it for them? And it's just this like constant, one is always thinking about others, one is not. And I'm just using them as an example because they can kind of talk and communicate the best right now because they're older. But I can see it in all of my kids. There are some that are naturally more empathetic and naturally more feeling than the others. Nathan has his little girlfriend for the first time. They're 11 and it's really cute. But I have to remind him sometimes of, hey, Emma wasn't at the swim meet tonight. How do you think that made her feel? And it's like this whole exercise in, oh, she probably felt like crap. Well, did you miss her? He's like, yeah, I missed her. I said, well, why don't you tell her that you missed her? And he's like, because that's cringe. And I'm like, no, that's not cringe. That is actually showing up for another human being. Whereas Alex had already texted his girlfriend's brother to say, hey, we really missed you guys tonight. So it's like this whole big thing of like teaching them these true life skills because you want them to be good human beings, but you also want them to foster connection because they need it.
Yeah.
And then I also feel like you're like, hey, but it's so hard for me as a mom. And so like we're getting into these moments where I would probably assume most mothers do have lonely moments. And you're like, I don't want this to happen for my kids. So how do I make sure that they are fostering connection?
Yeah.
And how do I facilitate it for them?
Yeah. So it's interesting. My second guy who's on the spectrum, he goes to... It's not even speech. It's more like a social skills, right?
With our beloved Miss Marie.
Beloved Miss Marie, who, is fantastic. So he goes twice a month, but he's kind of in this group, and they just talk. They talk about conversations. They talk about starting a conversation or how your responses in a conversation to keep it going. And I literally just want all my kids in it. Like, all little kids could literally benefit from this type of a group. And I'm sure they focus on some more specific things, but just from the outside, they play games and they learn to lose and they learn to truly just interact. Yeah. And I think that's half the battle, because it's so difficult. Even as an adult, it is so hard.
So we were at a swim meet, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and they had a playground like off the pool deck, and there were so many people there, and we're a little bit more like, I don't know, loosey-goosey with our kids, especially at a swim meet. But Catherine was having a little bit of independence, and we were letting her play on the playground. And she thinks she rules the world right now at 3.5 anyways, and she can do everything. But anyways, I'm sitting there, hot, sweaty pool deck, and all of a sudden Catherine walks up to me, hand in hand with this little girl. Never seen this kid before in my life. And she's like, hey, Mom, this is my new best friend, and I need her to come to my birthday party. And I'm looking at this kid, and I'm like, hi, are you from Granite? Are you from Brandermill? Like what, like trying to get some background information on said new best friend, because I didn't want to shoot her down and be like, hey, this isn't how we make friends. We don't just go play on a playground and then suddenly they're our friends in September for your birthday. But I also wanted to celebrate this newfound friendship that she had made. I don't even know what happened. I mean, it was chaotic, whatever. I never saw the girl again. I don't know. Aww. I assume she's not going to come to the birthday party, but it's just so interesting to like watch them learn how to interact with people. At age 3, suddenly we're best friends immediately. Like we both like Peppa Pig, and we both can swing from the monkey bars, and suddenly we're best friends. But like, when does that change? And when does that happen?
And I almost wish, in the conversations we have where I say, we're open, like talk to people, learn about people, things like that. I wish I could bottle up that little 3-year-old's vibe, because that I wish would just continue through middle school. And it's because you're completely open and accepting. and they're just being together and doing the things on the playground, right? Versus this judgment comes in and
but it's
self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's definitely the judgment piece, but what's been interesting for me to navigate with my older kids as they've had a little bit more freedom this summer is they're actually learning like where their boundaries are and like what our family beliefs and morals are, what other people's are, and how those come together to create a friendship. So can they be like, where are their boundaries with friendship? So they have this best friendish kind of neighborhood family, and they were walking home from the pool, and the little girl made a comment about a flag that was hanging outside of somebody else's house. And my kids were very upset about the comment that she made, because here they are, beautiful friendship, love her dearly, but suddenly she's making a comment about a group of people that my family embraces and loves, and you know, everybody is allowed to be who you want to be, and we talk to them about, you know, different types of people, and suddenly she was passing judgment on a certain group of people, and my kids really got upset, and their question was, does this mean we can't be friends with her anymore? And my question back to them was, that's up to you all. Let's talk about how it made you feel. You stood up to her. You guys went back and forth. Like, where does it land? But these are questions that are going to literally come across your plate for the rest of your life. And you have to decide where these little friendship buckets go. Like, maybe she doesn't become a super close friend because you don't like the way that she potentially could treat you if, you know, you decided to, or you were a certain way. So,
right. We have a couple, and those are the things that we're also tackling right now is Penelope, my 9-year-old. There's kind of 3 of them. Okay. This little trio, which trios are not very fun. And then my older daughter also, there's kind of 3, sometimes 4 that'll like play together. And we've had the ups and downs of being left out in those conversations, and being left out for like 6-7 months kind of conversations. Or I'm like, go over, see if they can play. And the answer is no, often. And so we have these conversations of being open and giving people grace, and understanding that you can't always play, and you don't always want to play, and that is okay. But also, how many times are you going to take a no before you decide, you know what? This is enough for me. I'm going to take a step back from this friendship or something like that. And these are like really difficult conversations.
So hard.
Especially as they get older and they're really questioning their self-worth and how hard of a hit that can take on them. So just kind of like playing into those conversations where it starts to get tricky. And what do you do? And what do you say? And when do you give grace? And when do you say, I'm worth more than this? And find somebody else. But that's so hard. It's hard for an adult to go find somebody else, let alone ask a 9-year-old to say, go in the neighborhood, find somebody else. Like,
and it's so interesting to have like these conversations on the backside, because it's like, we were driving home from the swim meet, and sweet little Emma, who is, you know, Nathan's girlfriend at 11 years old, had gotten hurt at the farm. And so she wasn't at the swim meet. And the actual way that she got hurt, the story itself is different depending on who you talk to. And we had handled it, I felt like, between the 2 families very, very well and very, very healthy. And it was just, we were sitting in a really warm place about it. But it was a really big deal when Emma missed the swim meet. And it became more of a drama-filled situation. And I guess one of Nathan's best friends looked at him and said, you know, something like, you hurt Emma. What kind of boyfriend are you? Or something like that, which I don't believe he meant as meanly as it took. But then I have an 11-year-old on the pool deck in tears, wanting to know what he's supposed to say, and is this person still his friend? And, you know, so then you start talking about misunderstandings and tone, and, you know, did you tell him that's how it made you how it made you feel? And I mean, there's, you know, a deer in the headlights at 11 at this point of, I can't tell another boy how I'm feeling. And I'm like, whoa, we need to get back to where feelings are okay, because do I really want to, you know, raise another, you know, boundaried white male in America right now? And it's just like, where does this all go? And it's so
hard.
overwhelming because they're being taught, I'm sure, places like the internet and YouTube and things like that, that like they're not supposed to have emotions. And the fact that this kid said something to him and it hurt him, he's going to go cry, but he is going to find the furthest corner somewhere to go cry. And I'm going to hold him and I'm going to tell him it's okay. But like, he doesn't want anybody to see the fact that he's having emotions. But when did that happen? Because I never told him he wasn't allowed to have emotion. Freaking cry on the pool deck. I don't care. Like, let's have them. Your feelings are hurt. Like, let's talk about it. And you're also scared. You're upset. Like,
how hard that next step is to often realize, well, number one, he's not even in this situation. It's none of his business to be in this situation. Why is he speaking out and putting somebody down? It has to be something on his side because it's nothing I did to him. So like, but these are all like pretty advanced, complex, very aware, you know, things that can go through our brain. But I have had to start having those conversations with kids where they're like, they did this to me and they were so mean to me. And I was like, was there, you know, we talked through it and I'm like, is there anything like you think you specifically did? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, like this is really difficult, like for anybody in life, even adults, but that is on him, or bullies at school or things like that. Yeah. But those are so complex. So at 11, it's like you said, like kind of deer in headlights. Like I don't even know how to process that or have that happen, or
was it but then it's like this spiral that starts going, which is, was it my fault? Yeah. Could I have done more? And the problem is that the kids that are saying the comments aren't living with my son and haven't watched him deal with it and haven't watched all of this anxiety, because I mean, he was involved in the situation. He could have made better choices. We all could have made better choices, but it's like this bizarre kind of circle of self-worth, and where does it lie and how do we make it happen? And it's what I think also gets complicated in this is when we become friends with parents, but then our kids suddenly don't want to be friends with each other or don't want to get along, or there's something happening there because you don't want to judge the other parent for their child's behavior, but you want to maintain that relationship, and it just gets really, really complicated.
Yeah. 100%. Like in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. It's like the kids are friends.
The kids are friends.
You maybe like, struggle with
I really don't have anything in common with these other people, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to pretend like I do. Yeah. That's like a whole nother thing. And then it's almost like this like beautiful sunshine moment with like rainbows and unicorns when the whole thing works. And when suddenly you have another family that you can hang out with and you can actually enjoy their company and be real and authentic with at the same time that the kids are off playing and having fun. And
I think it's also hard as a parent too. You do want to help guide them through these situations, but sometimes they start coming up frequently, and I have to be like, you need to try to work through this. You may make the wrong mistake, you may say the wrong thing, but like, I can't solve. And I say it mostly to like my older ones. Like, I can't solve everything for you. You got to come up with some solutions and try one and see how it works out. And like you're going to have to navigate the friendship.
Have you run into the situation yet? And I'm really scared about when this is going to happen in my life, but where like your kid is friends with just like a little shit. Like just, I mean, I know that sounds terrible that no kid is like that, but like somebody who maybe doesn't practice the same like kindness and morals that your family does, or is constantly mean to them.
Yeah, it's a little scary. I don't think we haven't had that yet, but I did get a little nervous. I told you about the situation with Lennox and like that fake account, like with the kid in the neighborhood. I swear,
is this why he needed a social security number?
No, that he was just being a 15-year-old. I don't know, but he has a friend in the neighborhood, and she's really nice. Mom's going back to law school. She has 4 kids, like really good kids. They just made like stupid choice, but anyways, his friend signed him up this fake account on some other app. I had no idea, and was posting things. It looks like it's coming from him, but like really bad topics. And I'm like, who is this kid? Like, you got to get this shut down. So we were trying to figure it out one night at like 10:15, getting this account shut down. And I was like, oh my gosh, like who? It makes you think. I'm like, who's this kid? Like, this is not something you do to your friend, like, and at all. Like, this is
follows you everywhere.
This
for the
is
rest
a big
of your
deal.
life.
And I was talking to Lennox about, I'm like, this is a huge deal. And it kind of got me into that, but I'm sure it's coming. And I feel like I just have to accept that.
Yeah.
And you just try to do exactly through these conversations that we're having.
It literally makes me want to like throw up with anxiety right now.
But like, I'm really struggling with my oldest right now. Like, really struggling. I feel like most end in some sort of argument where either I'm triggered, I react as a parent, which is not good. But also on the flip side, I feel like he doesn't have much respect for like household rules. He's pushing every boundary possible, not treating siblings well, things like that. And I'm trying to chalk it up to he's got a lot of trust in us because he doesn't do this out of the house at school or anything. But at the same time, I'm like, this is not okay. But like, it literally just hits me for a day. And I'm like, how do we fix this? And
it's scary.
And I don't want him to go run off and be angry and mad and make a terrible friend or find somebody and just get into bad trouble. And I could go ramble on and on and on.
I think
but
the problem is that you and I made extremely good choices at that age. Eric, thankfully, made extremely bad choices at that age, and he's still alive by the grace of God, and he's a good human, I would like to think, at this point. And he survived, but he had some of those friends in life that I'm like, I don't know how they're still alive. I don't know how you're still alive, but thankfully you guys are, and you guys are kind of making good decisions now at 45. Like, they have to get through it at some point. I do have this older mother in my life who was telling me this story a couple of weeks ago, and it was really what I took from the story was probably not what I was supposed to take from the story. But as she was telling it, she was talking about how when her daughter was a teenager, something had happened and whatever, and then when she kind of ended up truly having like a conversation about what had happened, and she offered her daughter an apology. She talked about how it was when she was in college, and she said, we were friends again. And it was like this like moment of like reassurance that no matter how tough it gets in like those high school teenage years, like it is really nice if you can just kind of hopefully make sure that they make the right decisions and you guide them as much, and you have enough faith in whatever you have faith in, that hopefully, they come back around and they are your friends again.
Yeah. But I've tried to rest in, we've had these conversations of just the general ups and downs of kids, and just fingers crossed, whether it's infant sleeping and then deciding not to, or, I loved this kiddo at 3 years old and they're a terror at 6, or, whatever it is, just kind of sitting and resting and being comfortable in that there will constantly be those ups and downs, and times where you feel the relationships are closer as a parent and a child and separate. And I know I feel like we've kind of gotten off of like the friendship building, but I think it's still kind of connected. You can teach these skills, and just kind of knowing that it'll kind of come and go.
Do you have like rules on kids spending the night at other families' houses? Like, how well do you have to know the parents, or like how well? Because I know that was kind of a big deal for us when it first started. Not like I didn't feel the need to like really, really know the parents, but it does. I mean, guns scare me a bit. Like, just I don't know. It's
an interesting question, because I was reading this article, and I was a girl. She's like, here's your top 5 questions for asking about sleepovers.
I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, I don't ask any of these questions.
I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like, I'm kind of in this, and I get some questions, and I'm like, okay, I was not.
Like
it was
are your
guns locked up?
Yeah, are your guns?
That was like number one.
Are there parental controls on your screens? And it was like,
do you have other adults living in your home? House? I was like, whoa!
I know. It's so true. But I also don't know if I can walk through life worrying about all of those things, because it literally made me want to throw up.
So we don't have hard rules. I don't have hard rules, but like we will discuss if it's something new. And as sad to say it is, I'm a little bit harder on my girls than the boys, but really they only want to sleep over at a couple close friends. Yeah. And those have been kind of vetted, and they're fine. But the boys I ask Lennox every time, I'm like, do we need to have a sleepover talk? He's like, no, like we've had the sleepover talk, all the time. But I do. I'm like, your phone is always charged, always charged, and it's not on silent.
Do you have a code if he needs you to pick him up that's not like, mommy, I want to come home? We have emojis. We have the lobster emoji. Okay. So like if my kids are ever in a situation where they don't feel like they can actually say, Mom, I need you, or I want to get out of this situation, or come pick me up, we use the lobster emoji.
I probably should. I actually don't. But we have these conversations. I'm like, your phone is always on. It's always on ringer. Ours will be. And then I say, I'm like, if there's ever anything, if there's somebody drunk, you don't feel safe. I'm like, I don't care. Find the closest door, walk out of it with your phone and go sit on the driveway. And like, seriously, I'm like, and call me from there. Like, because most of the time he's in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or he has a friend where he spends a night in like Fox Creek. I'm like, go sit on the road. Like, you do not have to stay
Sit on the road.
in those four walls, like at all. Get out. Get
Yeah.
out of the situation, just as if it was a fire or something out, like get out. And also we just talk, I'm like, I don't have to be the first phone call. You can call 911, like 100%. If it's an unsafe situation that you need more help than me, you call 911.
But it's
like,
so funny how like crucial those friendships get to them and how much those friendships are tied up with their self-worth and their belonging and like these true things that we all need, and they learn it at a young age when they start these little play dates, and it becomes this thing, and you just hope, or I hope, that if they do go south, or if they end up in situations where they wouldn't make that same decision, that they have the confidence to speak up and risk those cringy moments, or risk whatever the cool word is to call them now, and actually reach out.
But we do. I mean, we talk about all kinds of things, just your body and all that. And really, I wouldn't find yourself in a room, like doors do not need to be shut. Like be aware of your surroundings, things like that. Where's the exit? Which all just feels terrible to talk about, but
it's interesting though, because
it's
important. I've taken a very, very different stance than my family did and my parents did. Like my kids have so much more education, and I think some of it is because the information is there if they were to go look for it, so it might as well come from us, and it might as well come in a situation where they absolutely know that they can talk about it, and they absolutely know that they can have a conversation with us about it if they have questions. But it's interesting letting them go experience other families and other kids and learn and have experiences. I think it's so important for them to experience you know, their friendships and their friends' families and stuff like that, and so different than you know, well, I don't know what they get. It
has definitely led to some discussions, because sometimes it's been like 3 girls sleep over, so then you talk about that dynamic, and we often have conversations after that if like 2 are kind of leaving 1 out and things like that. So it does lead to some other kind of just you know, talking through those situations, but most of the time it's kind of one-on-one,
and
which
I
is
think
nice.
It's so interesting because I didn't realize it was going to be as hard as it is. Like you talk about, like you said, the sleeping or the food or the eating, like, and as they grow up and you think about all of these things about being a mom, I don't think I really realized like watching, like the impact of watching them have like the emotional pain from places other than, you know, their home. And like, you have to encourage the connection and learning, and I mean, you know, if you're a human being, you're going to get hurt. And it's watching them explore. I mean, it starts on the playground when somebody does sandbox and somebody doesn't want to share with you. And then it just continues when you're older and you get told during warm-ups that you hurt your girlfriend, and it hurts you. And it hurts you because you think you might have, and it hurts you because the person who's saying it you thought was a friend, and it just becomes this big thing where like, oof, you can't protect them. You just have to teach them to stand up for themselves. So one of the more challenging parts of being a mom as kids grow up, but I don't know, be their safe space to land if you can, and hope that they talk to you. I
try to do more listening than talking if I can. Have them share.
You're better at that than I am, because I just want to get involved.
Not all. It depends on the situation.
If
it's like a repeat thing, they keep getting hurt, then I just want to like dive in and like, you know, fight it for them, but they got to do it themselves.
They've got to learn how to do it. And then you just eat ice cream and you watch a movie together, and hopefully it gets better.
Any tips, help us. We're right there in the trench with you on
absolutely
that,
so Godspeed, mamas. See you next week.
Bye.